What do you think is the scariest way to die? For most people, maybe a car crash, an airplane crash, or even a heart attack. For me, the most nightmarish way to die would be from acute radiation exposure. Your flesh would slowly disintegrate over weeks or even months, as your cells break down from the inside, and you would watch, powerless, as your body gradually falls apart. And sadly, this gruesome fate was brought upon 4 individuals in Goiania. This is the story of the Goiania Accident, one of the most serious radiological accidents to ever have occurred. Back in 1987, in the city of Goiania, Brazil, there was an old abandoned clinic. Inside that clinic was a piece of equipment used for cancer treatments, a radiotherapy machine. The clinic had been left empty for years, and no one bothered to remove the machine. But it wasn't just any machine. It had a small capsule inside filled with radioactive cesium-137, which is extremely dangerous if mishandled. One day, 2 men who worked as scavengers, people who collect scrap metal to sell, broke into the building. They found the machine and thought it might be valuable, so they dismantled it and carried parts of it away. When they opened the machine, they found a small container with a strange glowing blue powder inside. It looked magical, almost like something from a science fiction movie. The men didn't realize how dangerous it was. They brought the capsule to a scrapyard and showed it to the owner, a man named Dever Ferreira. He too thought it was fascinating and decided to keep it. He even took some of the blue powder home, showing it to his family and neighbors. His wife, Gabriela, touched it, and so did other family members. Dever's 6-year-old niece, Lida, thought the powder was magical. She played with it, rubbing it on her skin like glitter. The powder spread around their house, on clothes, furniture, and even food. Gabriela and Lida were exposed to very high levels of radiation. Within a few days, they became extremely sick, suffering from burns, hair loss, and severe weakness. Sadly, both Gabriela and Lida passed away after weeks of terrible suffering. Their deaths left a lasting impact on the family and the entire community. But it wasn't just Dever's family. Neighbors and friends came by to see the glowing powder because they were curious. Some people touched it, while others just walked through areas where the powder had spread. Many of them started to feel sick too, with symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and burns on their skin. Even people who didn't touch the powder directly were affected because radiation had spread through the air and on surfaces. In total, more than 250 people were contaminated. The government quickly stepped in to stop the contamination from spreading further. They tested thousands of people, checking their bodies and homes for radiation. Some people had to leave their houses, which were later destroyed because they were too dangerous to live in. The belongings of the contaminated families, clothes, toys, and even the soil from their yards were buried as radioactive waste. 4 people in total died from the radiation exposure, and many others suffered long-term health problems, like a higher risk of cancer. Even those who weren't badly exposed faced emotional scars. Some people in the city treated the survivors unfairly, thinking they were still radioactive and dangerous to be around. This caused a lot of pain and isolation for the victims, even years after the accident. It was a tragedy that left deep marks on everyone involved. Thank you for listening. Stay safe.